One state just nuked its divorce rates by doing one rare thing that the rest of America would never dare.
And there is a real danger that the divorce rate is going down because it's harder for women to leave.
If I have my child half the time, why am I paying full support? Like I'm not even around. I'm feeding them, clothing them, taking them to school, wiping their tears, just like she is. But somehow only I have to pay up. This system don't reward fatherhood. It punishes it.
So apparently, divorce lawyers are panicking because, wait for it.
I believe that 50-50 is best, and I believe that there should be a presumption of 50-50 if there is no abuse history, there's no violent criminal history or other criminal history that would inhibit the person to parent the child, that there is no mental health issue that is going untreated that would impact the child negatively, that there's no drug and alcohol issue that's not being treated that would impact the child negatively, that there is no major distance geographically between the parents that would make 50-50 unrealistic, and that there hasn't been a significant amount of time passed since one parent has had contact with the child, like probably a year or more. I think if none of those are present in the case, then I think there should be a presumption of 50-50. I think it's what's best for the child.
Divorce rates are dropping in Kentucky. I went there to figure out why. In 2018, Kentucky became the first state to make 50-50 shared custody the default. That means that children split their time equally between both parents, and fathers pay less in child support the more time that they spend with their children. Before that, judges decided custody based on what they called the best interest of the child. Fathers said that usually relegated them to an every other weekend arrangement, the so-called Disneyland dad effect, while mothers got to spend most of the time with their children. Since the law passed, divorce rates have dropped. Between 2016 and 2023, divorces in the state fell 25%, compared to 18%. It's hailed as a victory for fathers' rights, but the story is more complicated. Some critics of the law say that people are staying in abusive marriages because they're afraid of leaving their children alone with a parent with a history of violence. One mom told me that her husband nearly killed her in 2023. She filed criminal charges and he was arrested. But less than 2 weeks after he got out of jail, a judge awarded him 50% custody of their son, indicating that the abuse wasn't a factor since he didn't lay hands on the child. The law has become a model for other states. Arkansas, West Virginia, Florida, and Missouri
Beautiful.
have passed their own versions of the equal custody presumption. Around 20 other states are considering it.
Men finally stopped getting robbed in court. Yeah, you heard that right, the cash-out era for single moms might be coming to an end. No more instant alimony jackpots, no more, I deserve half because I existed energy.
There are reports coming out of Kentucky that the divorce rate has completely plummeted. 25%. It's gone down 25%. Like, that's significant. You know, when the divorce rate nationally rests, I don't know, I think a little bit above 50%. To have it drop 25% in one state means to pay attention. It's a reason to pay attention.
What if when you filed for divorce, you knew that your spouse would get 50-50 custody? Would that affect your decision? Kentucky has a law where 50-50 is the default. Now, obviously, there are exceptions if there's, domestic violence or whatever, but the default is 50-50. So not like Detroit where the default is every other weekend. If you knew your ex was going to get the kids 50% of the time right off, would that affect your decision to file for divorce? Why or why not?
Does anyone else find it funny or even a little strange that the second Kentucky added laws for, equality in child support and custody cases during divorce, that suddenly divorce rates dropped 25%? It's almost like a lot of these women were only filing for divorce because they knew that they were going to win no matter what the circumstances were, right? Like, you could literally be a cheating tramp that has kids with other men and you're still going to get half. Not anymore. Now it's like, all right, we got to look at the case and see who's actually better for the kids, who can, has a place to provide for them and can actually, give them a stable environment. Not, okay, well, you got a pussy, so you get the kids, and well, since the man works, he's gonna pay for it. That's not how that works anymore. And I just think it's funny that the second they enact this, the rates drop. It's almost like if women can't have their life subsidized by their ex, they're more willing to try to make things work. And don't be like, but women are staying in abusive relationships. 71% of abuse isn't unilateral, meaning at least 7 out of 10 victims simply lost the fight they started. Not trying to cheapen what real victims go through, just saying that most of you aren't that. And rare cases don't, justify the whole, so you're still wrong.
The new reality. Judges and lawmakers are starting to see the pattern: men getting drained, left broke, while the ex walks away with the house, the car, and a lifetime of payments. And guess what? That gravy train is running out of steam.
So most of y'all know by now that I had a restraining order put on me after 4 years. That's 4 years after the first custody battle. The whole reason why I got a restraining order thrown on me was because I did videos like this. I spoke up explaining why men are giving up on their children, why, just pretty much why, because no one cares why. But if I keep speaking, enough people will start listening to where I can try and get through to some people's heads.
Florida, Arkansas, West Virginia, Missouri, they've already followed Kentucky's lead. And right now, over 20 more states are considering it.
Alimony or spousal support is one of the most contentious points of a divorce. Like, no one wants to pay their ex-spouse money to help them live, right? Like, it is so offensive to so many people. So the purpose of spousal support is to help that person that's a little bit more financially insecure get back on their feet and take care of themselves. So I get it. Like, I understand the reason for it. But in cases where parties had a very toxic or hostile marriage, like let's say one party cheated or one party abused the other verbally, emotionally, whatever, it can be a really tough pill to swallow to be like, oh yeah, you also still have to pay this person for their maintenance. So there are definitely ways that we can argue these points. We can argue that maybe the party should not pay spousal support or pay less or pay a shorter duration, whatever it may be. So definitely reach out so we can talk about your case and talk about our strategy.
Now, suddenly it's all, but what about the kids? But what about fairness? Where was that energy when men were working 60-hour weeks just to pay for a lifestyle they weren't even part of anymore? Oh, right, silence.
I don't think it's necessary. We split her 50-50. She's at my house just as much. She's with me just as much, if not more.
Your Honor, I would say that's probably an argument for her to pay me. If we're splitting 50-50, I shouldn't have to pay all of it.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. So you kind of like told on yourself. So you ready to move forward with the numbers?
Sure.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get ready with the numbers. So it looks like you make, like I said, $100,000 a year. Do you work overtime, or is that regularly what you make?
No, I work overtime. But
okay. And does that include overtime?
Yes, ma'am. It's a salaried position, so it's just straight up.
Divorce rates. Statistically, what has the highest divorce rates? Usually it's marrying young, but it's also what raises it to the 50% is the second, third, fourth marriages, which have like an 80% failure rate. From what I've seen, people who have an education, who make a certain amount of money, more than like $80,000 a year, who marry above the age of 25, I think the divorce rate was more like 25, 30%. It's still high, but still less than the 50% when you account for all these other variables. Now, the other thing is that maybe they haven't been married long enough to see the divorce, but they are marrying later with a lower divorce rate so far.
Women initiate about 75% of divorces. There are multiple reasons for that. What one reason is that women are higher in trait neuroticism. They're more sensitive to negative emotion. So they feel more units of negative emotion subjectively per unit of stress. That's a way of thinking about it. And so they get unhappy faster. The world is more dangerous for them in some sense physically, but I think more importantly, they are going to bear primary responsibility for dependent infants. And if you have an infant depending on you, you should react to the world as if it's more dangerous than you might if it was just you navigating through it.
Now that laws are shifting, now that prenups actually matter and custody isn't an automatic loss for men, everyone's acting shocked. Lawyers who made fortunes off men's misery are sweating. Divorce used to be a business model. Now it's becoming what it should have been all along, a last resort, not a lottery ticket.
I'll bet you didn't know that if you make custody hearings and divorce proceedings 50-50 to start, you actually reduce divorce by 25%. At least that's the example we have from Kentucky. Now, of course, the Wall Street Journal tried to paint this in a bad light. They said a law setting 50-50 shared custody as state standard is hailed as a victory for fathers, but critics say it puts mothers and children at risk. 50-50 custody to start the proceedings puts children at risk? That is such a fucking weird statement to make. Because this doesn't change anything. Like if someone's abusive, or someone's a bad parent, or somebody's on drugs. No, this just means that when you start your divorce proceeding, we start from an assumed position of where the parents are equal. You know, where their custody of the child is equal. How the fuck does that put mothers and children at risk? It doesn't. All this said was that both parents are equal. Ladies, this is equality. This is what it's like when both men and women are viewed on an equal plane. And just to be very clear, seeing the parents as equal is what it should be.
Men are finally choosing peace, protecting their assets, and walking away from the rigged game. And the best part? The same women who bragged about strong, independent living are now realizing independence doesn't come with alimony.
Did you know that equal shared parenting laws decrease divorce rates? Well, it's true, and Kentucky proved it. In 2018, Kentucky passed a 50-50 equal shared parenting law. And since then, divorce rates have slowly declined. 25% declined, to be exact. Now, I know what some of these crazy toxic women are out here going to say, well, that's because women are locked in their marriages. No. That's because instead of walking away and thinking that they can weaponize the family courts to take the kids and get a shit ton of money, women realize that that's no longer possible in the state of Kentucky. So they're staying. They're working on their marriage. They're going to marriage counseling. And they're making it work in the best interest of their families. But the divorce system, where there's no fault and where there's no 50-50, it's easy for a woman to walk away because she knows she's going to get the lion's share of the assets. She's probably going to get majority custody, and she's probably going to get child support. So what's keeping her there? If it's not the perfect situation and it's not Prince Charming like in the movies, she doesn't want to stay. Toxic women will choose their happiness over their family. Men every day will choose their family over their own happiness. And that's the big difference. But when you take away the options of that financial gain of child support and the guarantee of custody, women are choosing to stay. 50-50 equal share parenting laws are not only in the best interest of children, I guess they're also in the best interest of marriages and the nuclear family.
The system isn't built for accountability, but the shift is happening. The days of easy payouts and weaponized divorce, they're ending. And all the boss moms who thought they'd cash out forever are about to find out what equality really looks like.
Today's episode of Manosphere Daily. If you enjoyed the content, give it a like. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified as soon as a new video is out. Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you all tomorrow.